Wow. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads. Boy, am I unprepared. I didn't even have a microphone in front of me. Of course, that makes no difference except for ComedySchoolsRadioNetwork.com, where it makes a big difference. It does not make a difference for those of you watching on YouTube on the Comedy Schools channel or on Facebook Live on my personal page, Tony Vicich. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads, children of all persuasions. You are watching Living on a Train with Tony Vicich. I happen to be Tony Vicich. That is why it's with me. That's right. I just snuck a lozenge in my mouth. Did you see it? You did not. This is your daily diversion from all the anger, anxiety, weirdness, and hoopla going on in the world today. And man, it just keeps coming, doesn't it? It just keeps coming. But maybe you're like me. Maybe you're doing smart things. You're staying safe. You're being careful. You're being careful with your health. You're being careful with your family. Being careful with your finances. And you're going to get out of this okay. You're going to get out of this okay. Believe you me, you definitely will. What have I got to tell you about? Kind of excited that tonight at Wednesday at 6 p.m. I will be conducting a class 2 of my stand-up comedy workshop, my advanced stand-up comedy workshop. And if you want to see sometime the fruits of my labor, you can see them on Sunday nights. On Sunday nights, all you have to do is go to comedyschools.com or to my Facebook page, Tony Vicich, and buy a ticket to Tony Vicich Presents Sunday Nights Funnier, where I present some of the best local Phoenix talent and beyond for your listening and viewing pleasure. Portions of it, when you attend one of our Sunday night shows, you are buying 3 things. You're buying entertainment, and boy, howdy are you. Also, you are buying into the American economy because we use portion of the proceeds to pay the comics, and you're helping feed the people because portions of the proceeds then go to local food banks in my area. So 3 things for $10. Things haven't been that good since the early 70s when it was $2 would fill up enough of your gas tank, $2 to buy you a bottle of Thunderbird, and $2 to buy you a hit of acid. And damn it, you had yourself a Friday night. By the way, I do not... This is not. I stand against illegal drug use and drinking and driving. So don't do any of that stuff. Okay. What I got to tell you today? I've been so busy with. I'll tell you what. I'm a little upset. I've been busy with the minutia of my business, dealing with my insurance agent, dealing with the payroll company. Dealing with a couple other things of that nature. Wasn't even really able to get to the good creative stuff that I was hoping I could get to today. Spent a lot of time on hold with companies that I pay to be not snarky with me, but not treat me like God, which is how I'd like to be treated if I'm paying you. So, but what I'm upset about is I found out that a lot of the arts programs in one of the cities I do business in have received sizable grants. And I guess I'm upset with myself that I never, if you come from where I come from, if you come from, you know what, don't put on airs, don't act fancy, don't act, the only thing you get is what you work for. No, if you come from all that, my kids don't need your charity. If you come from that, sometimes you don't think you don't understand your own worth or value. Several of the people who are not competitors of mine, but in similar businesses to mine, have gotten sizable grants from a couple of cities that I was not aware of. And I know I'm upset with myself for never looking into it. And I'm also upset that organizations and groups that I've been very helpful and beneficial to never informed me. I'm going to stick with being upset with myself about it. Not upset where I'm going to run around kicking myself in the ass all day, because then I'll pull a hamstring. Okay, and then I'll have a sore butt and a pulled hamstring. So pulled hamstring, sore butt, not a good way to spend the day. But I'm going to be more cognizant of it, and I'm going to be applying for these things that I deserve. So a lot of craziness out there. We're actually right now, Shirley and I, the producer of this show, we're a little more in lockdown mentality than we were couple of months ago. 1 in 4 tests are coming back positive in Arizona. Now, that could just be luck of the draw. It could just be the cards. Hey, look at that. You lost. Maybe you should have bet more. Maybe you should have been more aggressive. 1 in 4. So more people now have the coronavirus in Arizona than had it when the first lockdown happened in March. And most of the news out there says that they opened up too early. They opened up too damn early. And I understood the anxiety behind the first few weeks when a lot of us didn't see anybody. You know, it was weird because you see strangers at the grocery store, but you couldn't see your family. And we all started loosening up a little bit. But a lot of the governors and mayors and stuff really succumb to an emotional pressure. Open up early. You need to open up. And now we're suffering the consequences of that because a lot of things are having to reclose. So I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with this stuff right now, but friends of mine who are on unemployment, whose jobs are gone, or the companies they work for are not reopening anytime soon, are going to see a lot of their unemployment or the emergency unemployment run out at the end of June. And this crap.
It is the end of June.
What's that?
It is the end of June.
End of July. I'm sorry. This stuff I'm hearing about. This is making American workers lazy. Well, it's not. What it's doing is sustaining this whole damned economy right now. So a lot of the things that the governments did at the beginning in March and April, they're going to have to do again in July and August. So like I said, I don't know did I correct myself? At the end of July, a lot of people's unemployment emergency fund is running out. And they're going to be in trouble. Okay? In the entertainment business, all my friends who were cruise ships and nightclubs and private events, all of this stuff, there's nothing for them to go to right now. So what are they supposed to do? So write your congressman, write your mayor, write your president and say, hey, we need to extend the unemployment benefits. We need to take a look at another stimulus package. We need to look at another round of funding for small businesses. You know, and if we can get to the end of the year, beginning of next, when they come up with a virus, with a treatment, a vaccine, and it's looking like pretty sure they will, then we'll get out of this okay. Okay? But if none of that works, this next book might be helpful to you. This show is based on 3 things, ladies and gentlemen, 3. It's on 3 platforms: Comedy Schools Radio Network.com, YouTube Comedy Schools channel, Facebook Live. And we do 3 things. I do a little preaching at the beginning, I guess. I do a little preaching. Then it's based on interaction with you, the audience, with your questions and comments that you send to me via these social media apps. It's also based on me showing you some knick-knack or memorabilia or some oddity that I have here in the home office. And then I recommend 2 artists or 2 pieces of music based on my vast vinyl album collection. Champ de Blasio just wrote, how can an independent contractor make it? I mean, not just comedians and actors, but musicians, yoga teachers, whatever. There is compassion for the government. Not only that, Champ, but if you look at some of these grants and programs, they're not available to home-based businesses. You know, a lot of these, you have to have a commercial space. You know, you have to have a storefront. There are some for home-based businesses, but that trench has gotten even narrower, and so many people do work from home. Not meaning that they just sit at home all the time, but it's a home-based. A yoga teacher who doesn't have a yoga studio but goes to people's homes, or people come to her homes. Absolutely correct. You know, and it's a huge part of the American economy. All right. And as we moved away from a giant manufacturing base into a service, information, and technology-based economy, a lot of people got left out in the cold because they weren't part of unions or big governments with big pensions, savings plans, 401ks. They just don't have them, you know. And we always in this country wax poetic about the entrepreneur and the self-made person. Okay, so if we want to continue to see entrepreneurs and self-made people and people who decide they're going to act upon an idea they got in their head and move forward with it. They're going to have to be part of any sort of stimulus, aid, loan, and grant packages that, as of yet, haven't even really been re-upped, but definitely need to, and they need to be involved. All right, like I said, here's your little knickknack for today. Every once in a while, it's a book. Here's the book. And I don't know if you can read it on Facebook Live, because it might be backwards. I don't know if you can read it on YouTube. And the name of this book is When to Rob a Bank. Now, I want you to keep in mind that we are not advocating the robbing of banks, although I've known a number of bank robbers in my day, oddly enough. This was a New York Times bestseller for the authors of Freakonomics, Stephen Levitt, Stephen Dubner, When to Rob a Bank, and 131 more warped suggestions and unintended rants. So I don't know if we can find that exact page. Let me see here. Hooray for higher gas prices, the gang tax, loss of version NFL. There's all kinds of weird things here. Oh, this is an interesting thing. An experiment in fake memoirs. Why are there so many fake memoirs in the world? The latest is Margaret Seltzer's Love and Consequences. It's linked to an Amazon page, but no longer has an Amazon page. If you had written a memoir that would say 60% true, would you try to present it as a memoir or a novel? If you're an editor, a memoir, and your thoughts was 90% true, would you publish it as a memoir or a novel? And here's why you publish as a memoir. A true story gets a lot more media coverage than a lifelike novel. A true story generates more buzz in general, including potential film sales, lectures, opportunities, etc. And readers are engaged in the story on a more visceral level if the book is a memoir rather than fictional. And that's why a lot of artists will say, writers will say they're putting out a memoir when a lot of it's fiction. So, I can't find the exact portion here when the best time to rob a bank is. But there is actually, here's the scary thing, is starting at some point in our lifetime. Did you notice that there weren't bank guards anymore? You're seeing some now because of COVID, security guards around. But prior to that, for the last 10, 15, 20 years, no bank guards. No guy in there with a gun and a hat, billy club kind of lounging around. No bank guards at all. Have you begun to notice that? It was because of a shift in thinking in America. A shift in thinking in America. So it used to be someone came and robbed a bank. Sometimes there was a shootout in the bank. Most of us are more familiar with that from movie scenarios than ever having actually been in a bank when it's been robbed. But the bank robber was a common thing in America. Generally a person or a group of people. No, Glenn, I'm not starting over. Showing up at a bank with guns and demanding cash. Oftentimes there were shootouts. People held hostage. In my lifetime, there's the movie Dog Day Afternoon about a infamous hostage taking in a bank in New York in the early 70s. And Al Pacino played the character who masterminded, and I use that term loosely because it was such a clusterfuck, the bank robbery. Somewhere along the way, there was a whole change in thinking. And the change in thinking was, why get shot? Which is a very good question. Okay. Why risk life and limb? And the plan then was, if someone came in and demanded money, that the tellers were just supposed to give them the money and then let them leave the bank before they notified anyone. Give them the money, let them leave the bank, be clear of the bank before they notified the authorities. The thought being that this stuff's FDIC insured, the money's insured. Your money in a bank is insured by the federal government up to $250,000. The bank fails, blah, blah, blah. So much money is digital. So there was a change in thinking in how we protect banks. You didn't see a lot of high-speed shootouts on the street anymore. No big shootouts in front of banks or anything. And probably a good thing. But that led to, for a number of years, an increase in bank robberies. And then I read a report one time that said most people who only rob one bank get away with it. Tim Lawson said, just got elected to government office, no need to rob a bank. Just get elected. Yeah, that's true. They get away with it. And the guy who was writing the article, a cop, said the problem for them is they're greedy. And once they do it again. And once they do it again, they do it again. And eventually they get caught. So I'm not saying to rob a bank. Do not rob a bank. Do not rob anyone. Okay? But if you do, only do it once. All right. So the name of the book, it's full of all kinds of cool stuff. Like, if I could just find, where's the chapter? I've already read this part. The truth of the matter is I had something else that I was going to present today, and then Shirley pointed out that I had already presented it. We're only trying to help. When to rob a bank, page 223. Let's go to it, shall we? 223. And keep in mind, I'm just reading this. This is not an endorsement. I recently read about a man who robbed 6 banks in New Jersey, but only on Thursdays. No reason was given for choosing that particular day, the article noted. Perhaps he knew something about how the bank did business. Perhaps his astrologist told him Thursday was lucky. Perhaps it simply fit his schedule. When this book came out, it's a number of years ago, it said, according to the FBI, there are roughly 5,000 bank robberies a year in the U.S. Friday is easily the busiest weekday. There are relatively few robberies on the weekend. So if you're going to go to a bank that time and don't want to worry about it being robbed while you're there, go on the weekend. With 1,042 Friday robberies, followed by Tuesday with 922. There's no evidence that any one day is more likely successful than the other. We'll get into this more and find out more about it. But I just told you my information on it. All right, let's get to the music, shall we? And by the way, if you ever thought I would like to sound as foolish and silly as him on, let's see, David Van Winkle says, with all the cameras now, it's a lot more difficult to get away with. Yes, David, but we're all wearing masks. You didn't think about that. If you ever thought about doing stand-up comedy, I got a free intro to my stand-up comedy workshops. This coming Tuesday at 6 p.m. Arizona time, Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. This coming Tuesday, July 14th. If you want a password and Zoom code to check it out, just go to comedyschools.com. It's all right there. And we'd love to lay out our program for you this Tuesday. Let's get to the music. First, we're going to go with an offbeat one. This is Sandy Nelson, Beat That Drum. Sandy Nelson, Beat That Drum. This album, or at least the song, sold 1 million copies. And they're almost all instrumental. They're almost all instrumental, and they're almost all drum-oriented. Sandy Nelson was one of the great drummers of the late 50s, early 60s. As is well known, every generation has one outstanding drummer, and as is also well known, Sandy Nelson is the man of today. To call him prolific would be true. To call him exciting be certainly true. And to call him contagious is definite. On here, he does versions of Sunshine Superman, Hanky Panky, the work song, Charge, Wild Thing, Wipeout, Over, Under, Sideways, Down, and what else? Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Beat That Drum, and Summer in the City. All instrumentals, all drum versions. Okay? That's how good he was. You could even write here at that time to the Sandy Nelson fan club. Was ran by a guy named Dick Dorwart. Dick Dorwart. It was 3717 Council Street, Los Angeles, California, 90004. Sandy Nelson was a great session drummer. He played on a lot of stuff in the late 50s and early 60s. It was a big hit. He got in an automobile accident sometime in the early 70s and lost part of his right foot and leg and continued to play. But you know when they say that God, that man plans and God laughs, you know, here was a man who made a living with, and if you know anything about drums, you're not just making a living with your arms. It's with your arms and both feet, both legs, who lost one of it, but continued to work continuously from then. So if you're looking for something really kind of offbeat and weird to listen to, YouTube Sandy Nelson, and then listen to some of his work because it's really quite amazing. Okay. There have been few drummers who have fronted bands. Most notably Don Henley, and Phil Collins. Both Don Henley ended up pretty much fronting the Eagles. Phil Collins fronting Genesis. In Phil Collins' case, once he really started fronting Genesis, he moved out from behind the drum kit. Don Henley eventually moved out from behind the drum kit. But if you ever see the video from Hotel California, he's singing the whole thing while playing the drums. Buddy Rich, of course, Buddy Rich and Buddy Rich Band, incredible jazz drummer, and Gene Krupa going back into the 40s. All drummers are a little crazy. I played drums when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, and through high school. I quit inexplicably for some reason, sometime when I was 18 or 19. So I sold my drum kit for $100 so I could buy some weed, motherfuckers. All drummers are nuts. I used to like to listen to Tom Petty's radio show, God Rest His Soul. Repeats still run of his buried treasures, where he would play his favorite music. And he was talking about some song where they let the drummer go on and on for about almost a minute after the song ended. And he goes, I'd never do that in my band. We'd fire that drummer. Because first off, drummers aren't musicians. They hang out with musicians. So truth be known, it was known that Tom Petty was quite fond of drummers, but liked to tease them quite a bit. Now, the second piece, and we're going through some big stuff lately. A lot of times I'm recommending stuff like Sandy Nelson that's real offbeat, that you may have never heard of, or stuff that you may have forgotten that you liked when you were young. Shirley and I now do something in the morning where I'll actually go and open up the Billboard Top 100 from a given year, and then ask Alexa to play certain songs. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. You know, I listened to Mary Lee Rush's version of Angel in the Morning today from the 60s. Much better than Juice Newton's, even though hers is pretty cool. This next album, of course, we all know who this guy is. Billy Joel. This is one of his massive monsters. This is 52nd Street. Okay, and it had huge hits on it. Big Shot, Honesty, My Life. Those may have been the three biggies of here. Yeah. 52nd Street was not that big. But those were the three monsters. Big Shot, Honesty, and of course, My Life was a massive, massive hit. Billy Joel was beloved by my generation from the time of his hit song in the early 70s, early mid-70s, Piano Man. Piano Man seemed to speak to us because so many of us were beginning to hang out in nightclubs and bars, and nightclubs and bars were changing from places that our parents went to and where rednecks would beat us up to places where a new generation that was coming of age in the 70s could hang out. We were no longer drinking wine, leaning up against our car in a parking lot somewhere past the joint. We're now old enough that we looked old enough, and they weren't as strict with IDs back then, to go and hang out in nightclubs. And a lot of those nightclubs, there were always these musicians who were either guitar players, folk players, or piano people. And we really just connected with that song. Our generation connected with that song, and then connected with Billy Joel for a decade or even more. We so connected with him. Somehow, and I don't know why, but he became a personal punchline. I think he got into heavy drinking. The big joke, of course, is that he wrote, I love you just the way you are, for his wife. Don't go changing, you know. And then left her for Christy Brinkley. But a lot of heavy drinking in the Hamptons, and I think got arrested several times, and then kind of got some sort of weird, creepy old man status for a while, which is sad, but happens a lot. But an incredible player. One of those guys who seemed to be able to write hit after hit after hit without ever really selling out in his art or his music. Never going, all right, what do you guys need? You need some sort of, cheesy pop hit. I'll do it. I'll do it for the money. He never appeared to be doing it for the money. He just knew how to write great hit songs that we all loved so very much. And that's a lot of times, that's the artist that any of us who aspire to be an artist would like to be. The iconoclastic, authentic artist who speaks or shares or sings or writes from their heart, that then connects with a large group of people. And those guys are rare. All right. You can put Warren Zevon in that category, but Warren was never as big as Billy Joel. Billy Joel was a bona fide rock star for a certain period of time. All right, we're going to wrap it up for today. It's going to be time to go. I enjoyed our time together. This half hour goes by fast for me now. I hope you enjoy every minute of it. I enjoy doing it. Write us, drop us a card, drop us a letter. I love it when you comment here. I get a kick out of it. Let us know you're out there. We appreciate it so very much. If you know anybody who wants to do stand-up comedy next Tuesday, 6 p.m., go to comedyschools.com and attend our free intro. Other than that, I'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. My name's Tony Vicich, living on a thin line. Bye-bye. Are you not feeling well again?